Hello everyone and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. So today we're going to prepare an afternoon tea, and the first thing that we need to do is make a delicious scone. There are many recipes out there, many varieties, and the one we're going to do today is a classic currant scone. So the first thing we need to do is get all of our dry ingredients into our mixing bowl. I am going to use my KitchenAid, however you can certainly do all of this by hand. So the first thing you need is all-purpose flour, which is 2 3/4 cups. By the way, I will put in the description all the measurements in grams so that if you prefer to weigh everything, you can do it that way as well. So 2 3/4 cups of flour, and I have a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, and we're going to use fine sea salt here, a 1/2 teaspoon. So let's measure a 1/2 teaspoon, get that in, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. It's really important to check the date on both your baking soda and baking powder. There is an expiration date, so you do want to, if you don't use it very often, you may want to check to make sure that it is still good. So we have here 1 tablespoon that's going to go in. All right, here are all of our dry ingredients. Now I mentioned that we're going to make currant scones. You can, in place of currants, you can use raisins, golden raisins, you can use cranberries, any type of dried fruit that you happen to like. I love the small, tiny currants, so that's what we're going to use here. And if they're extremely dry, you would probably want to plump them up with a little bit of hot water and then drain them and dry them out. These are nice and moist, so they're in good shape. We're going to add a 1/2 cup of currants right in with our dry ingredients. And the first thing you want to do is get this in the mixer and just kind of aerate it, get all of the baking soda, baking powder mixed throughout. So and you want to do this on low so the flour doesn't come up at you. And then we're going to use 1 stick, 4 ounces of unsalted butter. I've cut it up in about 10 to 12 pieces, and we will add it. And you want to let this mix until it's almost pea size. So you're still going to see pieces of butter, but on the smaller side. Okay, so this is mixed pretty nicely. So the next thing we will do is add our butter. This should take about 30 to 45 seconds. Whoa, did you just see that? Wow, that just popped up on me. Well, we'll let it be. I'm sure it'll be okay. That was a surprise. Okay. Well, they actually do have a guard for the KitchenAid. Maybe that's a good time to use it. Not that I ever do, but I think I'll put the last piece in, and what we'll do is just do an on-off motion just to kind of get the butter broken up a little bit so that it doesn't fly out at us.
Is there a geyser in there?
That's Bob. Yeah, it kind of seems like a geyser.
You say that's Bob like it's a fungus.
That's my husband, Bob. Okay, so this may happen to you. It's okay. I'm sure that we didn't lose that much flour, so we're fine. And then we can talk about our wet ingredients that's going to go into the dry ingredients. And that actually looks very good. If you take it off, you should still be able to see some pieces of butter. There are some pieces of butter, and you want to see that, but it just should be much smaller pieces, okay? So that's in good shape. So now let's talk about our wet ingredients. You're going to need buttermilk, 1/2 cup of buttermilk, and 1/2 cup of crème fraîche. This is Vermont Creamery crème fraîche. You can get it in most supermarkets today. It's a very good product. However, you can also make your own crème fraîche, which is what I did here. And in order to make your own, you just take 1 cup of heavy cream to 1 tablespoon of buttermilk, put it in a tightly sealed, you whisk it, put it in a tightly sealed jar, and leave it on your counter for 24 hours. It should set up really nice. Just take a little whisk it, and refrigerate it. And this will last in your refrigerator for about 2 weeks. If you don't want to do that, definitely seek out this, because this is wonderful. Another substitute you can use, it isn't quite as good as making your own or buying this, would be sour cream, but you certainly could use that as well. So in here I have 1/2 cup of each. I have 1/2 cup of buttermilk and 1/2 cup of our crème fraîche. And to that we're going to add 1 large egg. And I love the flavoring of vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract. So we're also going to put just a hint of it in here, which is not that traditional, but I think you'll really enjoy the flavor. So let's just put 1/2 teaspoon. And our egg right in with our buttermilk and crème fraîche. And then just whisk this so it's all incorporated before we add it to our dry ingredients. As I said, you can do all of this by hand, and after what just happened, which has never really happened to me before, but obviously it can happen, so you can certainly do this by hand. Okay. All of your wet ingredients should be cold. Your egg should be cold, your buttermilk, your crème fraîche, and your butter should be nice and cold. So now I can put this on low, and you want to just incorporate the flour and the wet ingredients together. Once it's just mixed, you stop. You don't want to overmix this. There will be some flour at the bottom of the bowl, which we will mix together by hand. Okay, it looks good enough. So we'll just add that little bit of buttermilk. And that is all there is to making a really nice scone. Okay, I'm just going to put some plastic gloves so I can go in and pull out all the dough. You don't have to do this. And here is the batter, you can see it. Now I'm just going to get it all together. And I do see some dry, I'll show it to you. You see there's still some dry ingredients there. This is where you mix it by hand into your dough and not overmix it. And this
so
way here,
come out heavy.
Yeah, have you
Heavier.
ever had a heavy scone or a dry one?
Not from you. Not from you at all.
Good,
No.
good answer.
No, I have not. Other places I have.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you want to put some flour on your board just so that you can bring this all together. And let's get all of our dough out. Okay, so here is our dough. If you want, you can even flour your hands a little bit. You just want to get this all mixed in.
You know, I was just thinking,
What's that?
well, if you didn't use currants,
Right.
then it would be older dough. Because it wouldn't be currant.
That's not even a little bit funny. That's not even a little bit funny.
Spelled differently.
And
But
I'm pretty sure there isn't anyone out there that's laughing any more
Tyler
than
is
I
laughing.
am.
Okay.
Now we can go ahead and roll it. I like to roll it about 1 inch thick. So here we go. I actually have a ruler to make sure that I'm doing it about 1 inch. I like it 1 inch high. Okay, that's it. By the way, you want to have your oven at 400 degrees. So this cutter measures 2.5 inches, which would be a fairly nice size scone. And if you were going to serve 1 per person, you would want to use that size. We actually did an afternoon tea for Mother's Day at the restaurant, and we used to give 2 per person, and we used this size, which is 2 inches, and it's a very nice, generous portion if you give 2 of these. So we're going to use these here. I always like to have a little bowl of flour to dip your cutter into. The first one usually tends to be a little stickier where you have to push it out, but then after that it's free sailing. Okay. And here you can see our scone. And you can certainly cut these in wedges if you prefer, so that you don't have to re-roll the remainder of the dough that's left here. I like to have the scone look like a nice round classic scone, so I don't cut them in wedges, but a lot of people do, and it's a little bit easier too. So let's get these and we'll see how many we get out of this batch. You don't, once again, want to overwork it. You want to make sure that you try to be kind of, just bring all the dough together. If you have a little bit of flour on your board, go ahead, flour your board a little bit. Bring it all together. So I would say with this size cutter, we're going to end up with 18 scones. Let me just show you what they look like. And you can see the height of them as well. All right, let's finish these up, and then we will put our egg wash on there. Let's grab a pastry brush. I have a little egg wash right here, which is just egg yolk, and just brush the tops, and then sprinkle a little bit of sugar, and these are ready to bake off. And a little bit of sugar, just a touch. And we will pop these in the oven and then finish our last tray. These are all set and ready to go in, and I'll show them to you as soon as they come out. Okay, so our beautiful tray of scones are out of the oven. In my oven, it did take about 18 minutes. So it all depends. You definitely want to check them early, but what is really important is to make sure that they feel very light in weight and that they have a nice color on the bottom. And these are absolutely perfect, ready to go. And I just want to show you, if you were to do an afternoon tea, if you have a 3-tiered stand, it's perfect. You would always put your scones on the top. In the center would be your sandwiches, your tea sandwiches. We did a lovely ham finger sandwich on our YouTube channel, so you should look for it. The ham filling is really delicious, and we will do others very, very soon. And then down at the bottom, you would put some pastries. Some really nice French pastries would be great. And next video, I'm going to make a delicious Meyer lemon curd, which you can use for, actually it's great even with the scones, but you can also make a nice pastry with it, which we will do next time. So let's just bring this over. Make sure that you get yourself a really nice cup of tea. And of course, feel free to serve this with a delicious salted butter, some of your favorite jam, and you will be in heaven.
Suzanne, Chef Suzanne, I'd like to mention one thing which is very important, I do believe. So not only are these scones old-fashioned and great, but you know what also is important?
What?
That they're current.
He's still working on that.
It's very, very important.
It certainly is. So here is our scone, and they are delicious. So we're going to sit down. I have our tea already prepared. We're going to sit down and have one. Thanks again, and see you next time for Meyer Lemon Curd. Take care.